Justin Rodriguez. 2 weeks and 2 days for New York Pro. But you know what? Indy Pro is waiting. I'm gonna jump. Hell yeah. 100.
All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. We got a lot of bodybuilding news to talk about. As you guys saw in the beginning of this video, Justin Rodriguez just announced that he will be entering the Indy Pro as well as the New York Pro. So he will be giving Blessing Awodibu some stiff competition at that show ahead of the New York Pro. So we'll get kind of a preview of what that showdown is going to look like in New York. And Justin wanted me to break that story on this video tonight. And in addition to that, they also sent me a couple pictures of Justin recently, these two post-training most muscular pictures. And you can tell that he's looking pretty dry. He's looking very conditioned. He looks like he's certainly on track to do a show even a week before the New York Pro, so I can certainly see why he made that decision to jump into the Indy, because he's looking like he's on track. He's in shape, so why not do another show and try to increase the odds of gaining that Olympia qualification, even if he doesn't win the Indy or doesn't win the New York Pro for that matter. These are two pretty good points opportunities, so if he's able to place at these shows and earn some points, it'd be a shame to pass up on that opportunity. So I'm very excited to see Justin take the stage at the Indy Pro. I think he's really going to give Blessing a run for his money there. And also the Indy Pro just came out with their official competitor list. Just about an hour ago they posted this, by the way. So in men's open bodybuilding right now, you have Morgan Asti, Blessing Awodibu, Carlos Chapa, James Culberson, Camilo Diaz, Muhammad El Aman, Seth Ingman, Roy Evans, Stephen Fraser, Dorian Haywood, Justin Rodriguez, Sean Smith, and the final name there, Dwayne Walker. I'll get to that in a second. In 212, you have Noel Adame, previous winner, Brian Balzano, Devin Bartley, Tonio Burton, Peter Costella, my man Nathan Epler from Indiana, Nawar Kabi, Sahar Kazez, Thomas Lenahan, Derek Oslin, Justin Randall, Samir Trudy, and Ryan Walters. So that is the lineup, and yes, Justin was the guy that I talked about a couple of videos ago, saying that I knew somebody was going to cross over and do a show before the New York Pro. So Justin was that guy. It wasn't Nick Walker that I was hinting at, but they wanted me to wait to release that information because obviously it wasn't finalized. Now it's finalized, so we know Justin is doing the Indy, and the Indy show is shaping up to be quite the lineup. So Justin in this lineup certainly becomes a wild card. I think he's got a really good shot at a very high placing, if not a win at the Indy Pro. So that definitely makes things interesting. But also here, and I just learned this today too, Dwayne Walker is doing the Indy Pro. I did not know this up until today, and I actually saw his recent physique update, and I commented it, and I asked him, what show are you getting ready for? Because he looks so lean. And then he said the Indy Pro. I had no idea he was doing the Indy. And he just made, remember last year at the Tampa Pro with Hunter and Ian, he made a tremendous statement at that Tampa Pro. He looked fantastic at that show, extremely aesthetic for a men's open bodybuilder. Really good lines, his posing was good, his condition was good. He's another guy that I think could be a real wild card in this Indy Pro because even I didn't know he was doing the show. So everyone's been talking about Justin, obviously, with New York. Everybody's been talking about Blessing. We know that Morgan Asti has a pretty big fan base. He's doing the Indy Pro. But I think don't be surprised if you see Dwayne Walker in that first call-out. He could be a sleeper to win this show. So now that I know Dwayne is doing the show, do not sleep on Dwayne Walker. And hopefully we see him jump in that New York Pro lineup as well. I would think he's going to. I would think a lot of these guys are going to do both shows because in all reality, there has been no shows all year for the first half of the year. Now you've got the first two shows in the bodybuilding season, and they're only a week apart. If you're going to be in shape for the Indy Pro, you might as well do the New York Pro a week later and just try to carry over that shape and see how you place and try to get some points because the opportunities to get points have been so sparse. There's been none this year yet. All there was the end of the year shows last year that were past the cutoff point for the 2020 Olympia. So that's all the points that have been given so far, and of course the points from the Olympia. So anyway, keep an eye out for Dwayne Walker. But the big topic of conversation, Blessing Awodibu. This is the guy that everybody cannot wait to see take the stage. This Indy Pro, even though everybody's talking about New York, him versus Nick, this Indy Pro is going to be Blessing's pro debut, meaning the first ever time that Blessing has stepped on stage as an IFBB pro. He earned his pro card a while ago, but he has not competed since he earned it. So this will be the first time we get to see how Blessing looks as a pro bodybuilder next to other pro bodybuilders, seasoned, accomplished pro bodybuilders at that, like Justin, I think is going to be a really good guy in this lineup. But Blessing posted a couple physique updates where I think he was trying to show off his quads here, and admittedly in this latest Reels video that he posted on Instagram, in this particular angle that Blessing seems to favor, I think his quads do look good from the side. His legs look good from the side. But again, it's just this angle. Like, I feel like he really doesn't show a direct straight-on front angle or a direct straight-on back angle every time he shows his legs, except for he did do a recent back double bicep where you could see his legs straight on from the back. But I feel like every time he shows his quads, it's been at an angle. So I am curious to see what his quads actually look like on stage in every pose at every angle, because just seeing them from the side is one thing. And yes, granted, they look good in this video. They look good in the picture that he posted yesterday as well. And of course, we're not just looking at his legs here. If you look at his midsection looks really dry. You can see his serratus muscle. So he looks like his conditioning is on track. Again, right now, he's about a week out. But honestly, guys, I think this Indy Pro lineup just got a lot more interesting, whereas before, when Blessing first announced that was the show he was doing, I didn't know of anybody doing the show besides Morgan Asti and Sean Smith up until like a week or two ago. Now all these new guys have jumped in, and that's exactly what I said would happen. Don't be surprised if we get closer to the show and all of a sudden people start coming out of nowhere and jumping in the Indy Pro because there's been so few opportunities this year. Well, there's been none to compete or qualify for the Olympia. And sure enough, the lineup dropped today, and you've got a really, really impressive lineup at the Indy Pro. So let me know your guys' Indy Pro predictions in the comment section down below. Now, next up in the news, here's a guy that's already qualified for the 2021 Mr. Olympia, James Hollingshead. He posted a recent physique update, a posing video here. It was kind of a brief clip. It was about 15 seconds long, but James is a 300-plus pound bodybuilder well into his off-season now because, again, he's already got that qualification. He secured it at the end of 2020, giving himself plenty of time to prepare and build his physique and grow into this year's Mr. Olympia, which sounds crazy for someone that's already a 300-pound bodybuilder. But this guy is massive. He's dense. The condition, and here's what impressed me the most about when he qualified for the Olympia, when he did that Spain show and he did the British Grand Prix, his conditioning was really impressive for a guy as big as he is, and that's what I like about James. He's a mass monster bodybuilder. He's a 300-pounder right now, but when he competes, he brings really good conditioning, and that's what I like about James, and that's the kind of physique and that's the kind of bodybuilder that is going to be competitive on the Olympia stage. You can't just be big to do well at the Olympia. You got to bring crazy conditioning, and so far James has done that pretty much back to back at that Spain show and that British Grand Prix, earning him, actually he qualified for both Olympias. He chose not to do 2020, but he qualified for both 2020 and 2021 at the end of that year. And I'll tell you guys right now, James is on my radar as a top 10 Olympian this year in 2021. There's not going to be a lot of conversation about James prior to the Olympia because he doesn't have to do any of these shows this summer. He doesn't have to compete at all until the Olympia. So there's going to be a lot of guys competing in all these shows that we've got coming up, so everyone's going to be talking about them. And you might forget about a guy like James that's already qualified, or another guy like Regan Grimes. Regan Grimes, who is also qualified for the 2021 Mr. Olympia. He also posted a recent off-season physique update where he says his body weight is about 285 pounds right now. He's another guy that doesn't have to do any of these shows this summer. The only show he has to do is the Olympia. He's already qualified, so we might not see him on stage until October when he's got to get on stage for the Olympia. But this is what Regan is looking like in the off-season. And one more physique update before we wrap up this video. This will be a strictly bodybuilding physique update video, so give it a thumbs up if you're a bodybuilding fan. Sergio Oliva Jr., who said we're not going to see very many physique updates from him, so who knows whether or not this is recent, but I'm assuming this was taken recently, posted a most muscular with the comment, or with the caption, I should say, Flex Friday. I have the Rolly Winkler face down. Now I just need to rest. Now I just need the rest to look like him, and then I'm good. Team victory, hashtag go beyond. We know that he's prepping for the Chicago Pro. Another guy, high caliber, top tier bodybuilder, looking for that Olympia qualification in Chicago. I'm telling you guys, there's going to be some dog fights at these shows. People are going to be scrapping for these qualifications, and you might see some really good bodybuilders that end up down in the point system missing out on Olympia qualification because it's going to be really competitive. Time is going to be, it's going to be crunched. These shows are going to be very close to each other, and there are going to be people that might slip through the cracks that are good, big-name bodybuilders that don't make it because there's so few shows in such a small amount of time to get that qualification. So I, for one, am really looking forward to this summer. There's going to be a lot of shows. They're going to be very competitive. It's going to be really scrappy, and I am excited to see it. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Please give this video a thumbs up if you did, in fact, enjoy it, and please subscribe to this channel if you have not subscribed yet already. As always, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power, signing out.